So last section of chapter 5 is going to be teaching you the very last costing method, okay, called weighted average. All right, so already talked about what the different costing methods. Weighted average is where we take something that's is constantly being purchased a lot, and it doesn't matter which batches of inventory that came first or which batch of inventory came last. The idea here is that you're selling them no matter what price points they are. Okay? So let's take a look at moving average. In this case, right, the same exact formulas are going to be put in here except for one huge difference. You don't need to calculate the cost per item anymore, right? This time we're going to be calculating the average cost per item, okay? Where we're going to take our total cost and divide it by our total quantity, okay? So in essence, right, what this does is instead of keeping each batch separate, right, we combine all of them together, whether we bought them on a high price or a low price, right? We combine them together to get an average cost per item. Essentially what this does is it spreads the total cost evenly amongst every single item that you have. So in this case, instead of pinpointing a high and a low price, we are just taking right what's in the middle. Okay, so we're getting an average cost in this case, okay? And of course, the goods available and the cost of goods sold, those are all going to be the same formulas, okay? The only difference here is just the average cost per item. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at this example here. Once again, we are looking into making a purchase right here on June 1st. We bought 100 toys at $1.25 with a freight of 25. So again, we're going to practice journalizing that. And then we pop it into our inventory worksheet. So in this scenario, right, since it's the very first one, we do have a purchase expense of $125. The total cost of $150 because the freight is $25. And then of course, in this case, yes, we can solve the cost per item if you wanted to because it is the first batch. If this is the only batch of inventory that you're only going to purchase, then yes, then this is your average cost per item, which is going to be $1.50, right? Because if this is your only batch of inventory. But we know that that's not true because we end up purchasing another batch on June 11, right? We purchased another 100 toys at $1.28 with the freight costing $28. Okay? So here's the journal. And now we're going to actually plug it into our inventory worksheet. So once again, we solve for the purchase price. We solve for the total cost. And then now the question is, are we going to solve for our average cost per item? In this case, let me just show you this. So in this case, no, you don't need to. You don't need to calculate your cost per item because in this case, it's going to be a completely different because we need to add up our totals to get our total quantity and our total cost. Okay? So in this case, right, even if we do separate it, right, it'd be 150 and then 154, right? We would need to find the average between those two numbers. So in this case, this is what we're going to do. Tally up your totals since we reached the end of our accounting period. Tally up your totals. I have a total of 200 units costing at $253 with a freight of $51, giving me a grand total of $304. So this is where I need to solve for my average cost per item. I need to say, well, since my batches of inventory are not separated anymore, they're all combined into one. So the average cost is going to be my total cost divided by my total quantity. So in this case, I'm going to take 304 and divide it by 200. And that's going to give me an average cost of $152. Okay? If you guys understand what average means, right? average is more or less saying what is in the middle, okay? What is in the middle between two numbers. So if my first batch of inventory cost me $1.50, and my second batch of inventory cost me $1.54, right? If I combine the two, then I should get the middle number. The cost point between 150 and 154, right? What is in the middle? What is the average? Okay, so in this case, it'd be 152 would be the average, the middle number. Okay, you have a question?
No.
Okay, so there you go, average cost. So then we're going to take these numbers and we're going to plug it into our inventory worksheet once again. Okay? I'm sorry, the bottom part of the inventory worksheet. So you're plugging all your numbers in here, right? We don't have beginning inventory, so that means when we solve for our net purchases, we carry it down. And here it is. So now we need to, since we don't have beginning inventory, our net purchases become our goods available. Okay, so here is where I find out that on June 15, I have a total of 80 toys left, or 80 units left, right? So I now need to figure out what my cost of goods sold is. And again, if I had 200 to begin with and I have 80 left, then my assumption is I must have sold 120 units. Okay? So now let's go ahead and figure out what my total cost of goods sold is. In this case, because we're not dealing with any batches, we're just dealing with the overall inventory. So in this case, I have a total of 200 units, right? Average costing at $1.52. So in this case, it's straightforward. I just take my lump sum of 120 and just times it by the average cost, and here I get $182.40. And of course, how do I solve for my ending inventory? Well, then I just take my ending inventory of 80 units and multiply that by my average cost per item, which is the 152, and that's going to give me my ending balance, or I can simply take my 304, subtract the cost of goods sold to get me a grand total of $121.60. The easiest, straightforward, because you don't need to calculate so many numbers. All you really need to do here is just calculate one. Okay? Okay. Any questions here?
No.
Okay. And of course, we're going to do our periodic conversion here, right? Where this is what we're going to do, right? We're going to plug in our purchase expense, freight expense, ending inventory, and cost of goods sold. Straightforward. We already solved for it. We just plug it in. Okay. Now, what happens when we have beginning inventory? When you have beginning inventory, so for the example, on June 15, I carried over the 80 units at $121.60, right? I know that because from my previous worksheet. If I gotta have to carry it over, I put into my inventory on hand, okay? And then I continue on with the rest of my scenario. So in this case, right, I made another purchase on June 18, all right, for 100 toys at $1.27 with the freight of 25. So that's going to give me 127. That's going to give me a total cost of 152. And this is where, do I need to solve for my average cost per item? No, I can skip forward, okay? Because I already know I have beginning inventory. So I already know that there's no need to have to calculate that just because it's not gonna be useful to me. It's gonna be empty, information that I don't really care about because I just want the average cost opposed to separate costs. So in this case, I don't need to spend time to do an extra step here when I could just go ahead and skip over it and move on. So that means on June 23rd, we end up purchasing another 100 units at $1.30. And then, of course, with a freight of 26. So we get 130 plus 26, giving me a total of 156. Okay. So once again, tally, since we reached the end of the year accounting, or reach the end here, we're going to go ahead and tally up our totals. So here, total is 200 units at 257 with a freight of 51, giving us a grand total of 308. I can't solve for my average cost per item here either because I have beginning inventory. So where do I solve for that? Well, let's just go ahead and plug our numbers in, right? Since we have beginning inventory, right, we set that on June 15, that we had a total of 80 units at $121, right? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plug that in, carry my net purchases, and then I need to solve. This is where when I get my goods available, that is going to be where I'm going to be calculating my new average cost per item. So in this case, right, I'm going to plug it into my inventory, inventory section for my workspace, right? If I have 280 units, right, and I have at $429, okay, then I'm going to plug it up here, and then we will solve for the average cost in a bit. In this case, so I have also information here that tells me, well, on June 30th, you had a total of 60 units. So in this case, right, we got to figure out what our cost of goods sold is. So there you go. I got 220. Now, this is where, since I have this number here, I'm going to now solve for my average cost per item, right? Because my grand total cost is now $429.60. And I have a grand total cost of units is going to be 280 units. So in this case, I take the $429.60 divided by 280, and I get an average cost of $1.5343. So in this case, this is an unrounded number. We're going to keep it unrounded because if we round too early or we round too late, your numbers are not going to equal up, and you may end up costing more than you should expect, and then you end up losing out on profits. So in this case, now I need to solve for how much it's going to cost me for my cost of goods sold if I sold 220 units at $1.5343. So that's going to give me a total here of $337.54. Okay. And of course, how do I solve for my ending balance? You could have the choice here. You could choose to calculate the ending with the average cost, or you could choose to take the goods available and divide it by, or subtract by, the cost of goods sold, right, to get a total of $92.06. Last but not least, we need to remember that we got to plug in our numbers, and last thing that we need to know here is the beginning balance. Okay. So let's go ahead and compare and contrast these costing methods. Okay, depending on which method works best for you. Comparing all three methods, when we use FIFO, we get rid of our first batch first, right? And that again brings us to our cost of goods sold, right? Number values to be a lot higher, right? Or lower. They're 180, right? Compared to LIFO, where because we end up selling our later batches first, right? We end up getting a cost of goods sold of $184, right? Compared to an average cost, right? It was right in the middle, right? It's $182.40. Okay. Now again, choose a method that works best for you, right? If you're selling things like groceries, right, you should definitely use FIFO for this kind of situation, or weighted average, whichever one that you feel necessary, right? But if you do weighted average, just know that when your perishable goods do go bad, you do have to adjust your inventory accordingly and take them out. Here, you know, it doesn't save you that much because at the end of the day, whatever batches of inventory you purchase, at the end of the day, you're going to get rid of every single penny. So it doesn't really technically matter how you cost it. It's not going to save you much money either. Like, for example, right, if you're looking at your FIFO and comparing it to LIFO, right, if you end up selling your more expensive batches first, right, so LIFO, then you're going to end up with a less amount, a less holding amount in your inventory, okay? But at the end of the day, you're still going to sell that inventory. So whether you hold off the whether you hold off your profits till the end, it doesn't really make a difference here, okay? Because at the end of the day, if you don't sell it, eventually it will become obsolete, and then we'll learn about this in chapter 6. What do you do when your inventory does go bad and it does is no longer available, okay? So again, it doesn't really matter how you choose to do this, but the best and most common one and the easiest one is weighted average, just because, again, you don't need to have to keep track of which batch came first or which batch came last. It's easier to just understand it this way, where we just combine our totals and take an average and just subtract them all out, okay? Other than that, again, you can only choose one method per product that you sell. So if I sell apples and I sell broomsticks, right, example, I can choose FIFO for my apples, and I can choose average costing or weighted average costing for my broomsticks, right? I do sell both products, but however, one of them fits better than the other, okay? You cannot ever do this where, let's say I have apples, I try FIFO first, and then I try LIFO next, and then I try weighted average the next month. No, you cannot do that, just because that technically is what's going to skew your numbers in the wrong direction. So as you can see, comparing and contrasting, right? We have the same exact scenarios, but they resulted in different outcomes. So in this case, right, no, you cannot do that, because it's not going to give you an accurate depiction of your actual cost, okay? However, right, yes, you can if you feel that you use FIFO for a while and it's just not working for you. Yes, you can go ahead and use a different method, but you can't actually change it all the time, right? Maybe you have to wait till the end of the year, but in this kind of situation, you would definitely go ahead and have to validate that with your IRS person, because they're the one that's going to be taxing you and making sure that your books are correct, right? So in this case, that's the situation there where it can be a little, you know, it can't, you do have a bunch of options, right? These are not the only costing for inventory that's available. There are different ones out there, but these are just the more common ones that you normally see here. Right? So again, chapter review, we talked about FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average. Now, here's a quick and easy way to understand FIFO. You start from the top and you make your way down to the bottom, okay? Meaning you're going to sell your first ones that you bought, and then you're going to end up having your inventory at the end, okay? LIFO, you're going to start from bottom and make your way up to the top, meaning you're going to sell all the ones that you bought recently and save the ones that you bought first last, okay? And then, of course, when you get there, then you have then the third one is going to be weighted average, which is going to be taking a total sum of your quantity and dividing it by our total cost here to spread the cost evenly amongst every single item to get an average cost per item, and then you just sell it out that way. Okay. All right. All right. Any questions in regards to weighted average? Okay. Now, for any reasons that you've seen a technique here, right, where you notice that this is going to go on. If you're going to be starting with FIFO, right, if you know for a fact that you're going to get rid of your first batches first, then you can automatically assume that your ending inventory is going to be what you last purchased, right? And same thing with LIFO, right? Instead of having to go through all the whole entire costing, right? Maybe solving your ending inventory will work better for you. It's easy if you're able to understand the concept here. But if it's not so easy, then just stick with using the costing method where you're going to eliminate one at a time in the order that you need to do. But again, when you do accounting here, the beauty of accounting is that there's always going to be a correct answer, okay? And there's going to be different many ways that you can get to the answer, all right? And in this case, that's one of those scenarios where you have the choice. You could solve for ending inventory or solve for ending inventory. Or solving for cost of goods sold, right? It doesn't matter as long as you can get to the answer, right? But a lot of students who want to do this a lot quicker, they find that solving for ending inventory is actually significantly quicker. But you have to just understand the concept. If you're using LIFO, that means you're going to be selling your last ones first. So that means your ending inventory should be part of your the couple first batches that you've purchased. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive right into our chapter 5.5 lesson here. Okay, so we here you go. So we have your costing method to be periodic, and it is weighted average. Okay, so here once again we're starting on April 5th. We made a purchase of 1,000 units at $5 each with a freight of $100. So again, this is going to be one of the easier ones, one of the quicker ones to do. I'm only going to have you practice filling in your table here just because the journal is going to be rinse and repeat. Purchase expense, freight expense, and how we paid for it. No, nothing wrong. Nothing you can't do, right? Because in this case, it's just rinse and repeat of what you learned. Okay? So here we go. I bought 1,000 units at $5 each with a freight of $100. Okay? So in this case, what's my total purchase price? $3,000. No.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, 5,000. Okay. Total cost if I add $100. 5,100. And this time, because I'm just going to assume this is my only batch of inventory, I'm going to go ahead and solve for my average cost right now, which is going to be $5.10. Okay. So let's see what happened next. Then on April 10, we end up purchasing 750 units at $5.75 each with a freight of $75. Okay. So it is April 10, 750, 575, 75. So in this case, what is my total purchase price here? 4,312. So in this case, I'm going to drag my formula down so that when I add my numbers in, it's going to compute for me. What is my total cost?
4,387.
4,387. And I'm going to drag this formula all the way down. Okay. Do I need to solve for my cost per item?
No.
No. Okay. So then we have April 20th. We end up purchasing 200 units at $6 each with a freight of 20. So in this case, all of these are the same exact ones that we've done yesterday and the day before. So this is going to move a lot quicker. I put 200 here, $6, right? Which we know to be 1,200 plus 20 give you 220. Okay. Next one is April 25th. We purchased 500 units at $6.25 with a freight cost of $50. So April 25th, 500 units at $6.25. Okay, with a freight of 50, giving me 3,175. Okay. Now the last piece of information that we need here is that on April 30th, we end up having a total of 600 units left on hand. Okay, so that means we reached the end of our accounting period. So now we need to equal sum our totals here. Okay. What was my total number of items that I purchased?
2,450.
2,450. What was my, total purchase price?
13,637.50.
Good. 13,637.50. Okay. And of course, we had a freight of 245, which yielded us 13,882.50, right? Same scenario that we did last time. However, this time, what is different? This is weighted average. Now that we got our total cost and our total quantity, now we can solve for our average cost per item. So in this case, what is my average cost per item? Okay. I'm going to take my $13,882.50. I'm going to divide that by my overall total quantity of 2,450 units. So what's my average cost going to be now? How much is it going to cost me for 1 unit?
$5.663.265.
Good. 5.666325, you said, right? That should be good enough.
I got 5.566.
5.5?
Yeah.
Okay, recalculate that. 13,882.50.
I got 5.666.
Okay.
Okay, 5.6662 or 325. So it does change at the end. Okay. So that means I'm going to keep this average cost because, again, if I round up to 67, right, every 1,000 or every 100 items I sell, every 100 items I sell, I'm going to lose out $1 of profits. Or actually, no, sorry. That's 1 penny. Every 1,000 items that I sell is going to cost me $1. Okay? Or in this case, it's going to cost me $7. Since it's 667 and the number is supposed to be 63, so every 1,000 items I sell, I'm going to lose out $7. Okay? So that's a lot. So in this case, now that I have this right here, let's go ahead and plug in our numbers here. So we know that we purchased 2,450 units at this, right? Our first assumption is we don't have any returns or allowances. So if I subtract 0, that's just going to give me my same answer. For rate, add no value to quantity, but it does add to cost. Okay, so in this case, we're going to add these numbers up together. So here you go. I get my total net purchases here, right? Because we don't have beginning inventory, I'm going to carry down my values from my net purchases that I saw from above. Okay, and this right here, again, because I have no beginning inventory, right, my net purchases is just going to become my goods available. Okay. So, of course, we were given that there were 600 units left on hand. Okay. So, if I started out with 2,450 and I have 600 left, my assumption is I must have sold how many units?
1850.
We sold 1850. Now, in this case, we sold 1850. So let me highlight this real quick for my average here. So I have 1850, right? And right now, what is my average cost per item?
510 or 5666?
Yes, it's 56666 because we're 510 is just the first batch.
Okay.
There you go. That's my average cost per item. Now, this is where I'm going to teach you this. If you're using Excel and you want to try to solve your answer without when you self-referencing, right, and you want to solve it to equal to the nearest penny, this is what you're going to do. You're going to punch in equal round, okay? Of course, you could either tab it to activate the formula that you're looking for, or you could just put a parentheses in there. Okay? Now that I have my formula activated, how do I put it in there? How do I, what numbers do I need to put into my arguments for this formula to work? In this case, I'm going to do my, what the equation that I want to do, or what am I trying to solve? In this case, I'm trying to solve what 1850 times 5.66633 is going to be, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end my argument with a comma, okay? And now the next section of the argument is going to ask you to how many decimal places. I want this to be to 2 decimal places, okay? Because I want to round to the nearest penny. You need to end your argument with a parentheses, okay? Or you could choose enter. I believe you could go ahead and just press enter for this one. And then when you press enter, it's going to tell me that it is a total of $10,482.70. Okay? This number is rounded, right? And I'm going to show you this. So let's go ahead and compare the difference if I choose to unround it, okay? And let's say I choose to display the information, right, as right, as the way it is, right? So if I just go ahead and did my simple calculation and just displayed my information like this, to here, it shows me that, oh, my Excel tells me I got the same answer, but not really. So if I go ahead and expand this out, right, it's actually $10,482.74081163. Where if I use my equal round formula, this is going to be $10,482.70, right? Because this answer is rounded, okay? So for you guys who are doing work on the Excel, it is very important that you do use the equal round, because if I go ahead and put that, this is going to be the this number here, the unrounded number. What happens is, because it's being hidden, because I told Excel I wanted to only show 2 decimal places. So if I go ahead and do that dollar thing again, right? If I go ahead and click accounting, it's going to hide all those extra numbers and just only show me 2 decimal places, right? But on Excel, it tells me it's correct, but if I open it up, it's not correct, okay? Because if you use cell referencing, right, and you keep this unrounded number in here, your numbers are going to be off, because it's going to be calculating the unrounded number, right? And it will be subtracting this, and then it's going to give you an infinite stream of unrounded numbers. And then that's where, especially when we work into perpetual inventory, that's where you're going to run into a lot of trouble, okay? Because of you not rounding when asked to do so, okay? But you also have to think about it this way too. Can I charge my customer, right? Can I charge my customer 70.4081 cents?
No.
No, you can't. So if you can't charge your customers that money, then you're gonna have to round it, right? Same rules to sales tax, right? You have to understand that sales tax is a percentage. Right now it's 8.375 instead of 25 now. So you're working with more digits when it comes to taxes. And that is what's going to cause this extra numbers. And what you have to do is, you can't be charging your customers a quarter of a penny. They're not going to give you a penny and break it in half. Right? So in this case, you have to round up or round down. In this case, I want you to round your answers towards the end and not this, because watch this, right? If I were to say I had 1850 and I rounded this to 3.67. If I did that, then I have no problem because it's a rounded number. But here, it shows me that I'm at 10,489. I'm at 89. I end up costing myself too much. So therefore, I lost exactly what I said, $7 worth of profit. And that's a lot. That's a lot to a small business, because we sold thousands of items of inventory. Okay, so in this case, if you choose to round your cost per item, that's up to the company, of course, right? If they don't care that they would lose profits out of it. But like I said, here's a great example showing you right here. I sold 1,000 units. I end up losing $7 in profit because I said that it cost me more. It cost me $7 more than if I did not round my answers. Okay? And of course, I can't charge my customer 0.408 cents. I have to keep it at a rounded number. Okay?
And that's when you round up.
So in this case, 4 tells you to not round at all. Round down.
But why is it that we were short? Because we rounded?
What do you mean short?
Oh, well.
Which one are we looking at?
Lost $7.
Okay, yes, because we rounded up, because it's 666, right? 6 tells you to round up.
Okay.
So then that gives me $5.67. But because if I cost it out this way, I end up losing $7 profit.
Okay, thank you.
So in this case, right, as a company, right, you're not going to just sell 100 items. You're going to sell thousands of items. So in this case, this is a business decision if you choose or not to do whichever one works best for you. But if you're selling like more than one product or a billion products, then rounding your answers is not going to hurt you as bad as anything else because you're making profits somewhere else. Okay. But in this case, I'm going to clear these out here so we don't get confused. Okay. So again, when we are using Excel, I'm going to be using the equal round formula. Okay, so once again, that was equal round. The first argument is going to be your equation that you're trying to solve. So in this case, I'm trying to find out what 1850 times 5.66633 is going to be, right? I'm going to end that section of the argument with a comma. Then the next section is going to be how many decimal places do you want this answer to round to? And we said 2 because we want to the nearest penny, right? We want the cents to be there. So in this case, we put 2, then we end our parentheses and enter, and that's going to give us a rounded answer. So in this case, there you go. Your answer here is 10,482.70. And of course, the safest thing so that you don't have to do it again, right? The equal round formula. You can just simply take your goods available of 13,882.50 because this is a rounded number, right? This is when I purchased something and I added everything up together. So in this case, and I'm going to subtract out my cost of goods sold to give me another rounded ending inventory. Okay, so there you go. All right. All right, any questions here?
No.
No.
Okay, so let's go ahead and plug our values in to our general journal here. Okay, so the conversion entry, right? Since it's April 30th, okay, it's April 30th. How should my conversion entry go? Inventory, good.
Cost of goods.
Cost of goods sold.
Purchase expense. And freight.
Okay. So in this case, what was the total value of my ending inventory?
$3,399.80.
Good. Okay. And what was my total cost of goods sold?
$10,482.70.
Okay. And what was my total purchase price? Purchase expense?
$13,637.50.
And what was my total freight expense? $245. So in this case, right, check to make sure that your total debits match your credits. In this case, I got 13,882.50 on the left, 13,882.50 on the right. Okay. And last but not least, I need to end my scenario with a description here. So I'm going to say conversion entry for periodic purchases. for periodic inventory purchases. Okay, good. All right, so then next section says here, well, what happens when we have beginning inventory? We're going to continue the problem with beginning inventory. So here on April 30th, we should have a total of 600 units on hand, which we know that was correct, right? And of course, we also are going to continue on with a new batch of inventory purchases for May. So let's go ahead and plug in my information from the previous section. 600 units on hand. Okay, so in this case, I got 600 units at a grand total of $3,399.80. Okay, we're going to carry that into my new inventory worksheet. Okay, so 600 at a grand total of now. If you choose to want to create the average cost here, you can, just so then you know exactly how that values came into play, but you don't necessarily have to, just because that average is not going to matter to you at the end of the day, right? Because you're going to change that average because you're going to make more purchase of inventory. So in this case, tally up my totals here. So I'm going to tally up my totals. Right? So this is going to be 600 units at a total cost of the $3,399.80. So now let's go ahead and fill in the rest of our scenario. So May 5th, we end up purchasing 500 units at $6.25. Okay. 500 units at $6.25 with a freight of $50. Okay. So May 5th, we had 500 units at $6.25 each with a freight of $50. So in this case, what's my total purchase price? Okay, plus $50 gives me a total cost of $3,175, and I don't need to do my average cost because I have beginning inventory. It won't matter to me at the end of the day. So, all right, and let's see what happened next. May 10, we purchased 800 units at $6 each with a freight of $80. May 10, 800 units, $6 each with a freight of $80. So, my purchase price, $4,800 plus $80. Good. All right, so I dragged the formula all the way down, so then when we enter our things in, right, this is the same exact scenario as what we've done before. So next situation for May 20th is if we purchase 300 units at $6.15 with a freight of $15, right? So 300 at $6.15 is going to give us, right, the $18.45 plus 15 gives us the $18.60. Last batch of inventory that we bought was a purchase of 100 units at $6.30 with a freight of $5. So in this case, And we plug in our numbers for May 25th. We purchase 100 units at $6.30. Gives us 630 plus 5, 635. Okay. So now that we reach the end of our accounting period here, so because May 31st tells us that we have a total of 400 units on hand. Okay. So in this case, we need to tally up our totals. What was the total amount of items I purchased?
$10,400.
Okay, so that's purchase price.
Oh, okay.
Plus $100, $50 worth of freight, giving you a grand total of $10,550. Yes, that's all correct. Okay. Now in this case, I cannot put my average cost here because I have beginning inventory. So I'm gonna put it down below under in my bottom portion of the table. Okay. So let's plug our values in, right? We purchased 700 units at 10,400. No purchase returns or allowances, okay? In the Chapter 5 review, we are going to be looking into what happens when we have those returns and allowances. Okay, and I'll show you how to figure these numbers out. Freight cost is nothing to quantity, but we know it's going to increase our total cost by $150. So there you go. Now I got 10, 5, 5, 10. This time we have beginning inventory, right? We began our inventory with the 600 units costing that $3,399. Okay? We're going to carry our net purchases down, right? So then what is my total goods available? How many items do I have available?
2,300.
2,300 at a total cost of
$14,335.
for 13,000.
Oh.
What did you say? 13,000? Okay, so in this case, let's see. 3 plus 10 is 13. 3 plus 5 is 8. But 9 and 5 is 14. Carry over, it's 9. So in this case, no, this is correct. Okay. So this is my total goods available. Since I have my total goods available here, this is exactly where I'm going to actually start calculating my average cost per item, because in this case, right, I have everything that I need. I have a total cost of my $13,949, and I have my total number of units of 2,300. So this is where I'm going to solve for my average cost per item. Right? I'm going to take my $13,949.80 and divide it by my 2,300. So what is my average cost per item?
Is it 6.0651304?
6.0651,304. Good, correct. Okay, so this is my average cost. So every time I sell an item, it's going to cost me $6.51. Okay. So my ending balance, right, told me that on May 31st, you have a total of 400 units. So in this case, 400 units. So in this case, how many units did I sell?
1,900.
1,900. So in this case, straightforward, right? I'm just going to calculate the 1,900 and multiply it by the average cost of $6.06.51. Okay, that's exactly what I would do. 1,900. Here is your average cost. So in this case, let's practice that formula again. Equal round. The formula I want to do is 1,900 times that 6.0651,304, comma. I want this to be rounded off to 2 decimal places. So then enter. And I get $11,523.75. Okay. So that is what I sold. Okay. So in this case, what is my total ending inventory? Hello?
Not sure.
13,949.80 minus 11,523.75.
$2,426.05.
Good, right? And of course, if you chose to do the other way, yes, you could get the same answer if you did 400 times the average cost, so equal round, right? You should get the same answer here. Okay, $2,426.05. Yes. Okay. All right, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and finish up our conversion entry here. So now that I reached the end of my accounting period, it is now May 31st. How should I record my conversion entry? Inventory. What else?
Cost of goods sold.
Right? This whole thing right here. Yes. Anything else? What else do I need to include?
Purchase of credit.
Good. And what else?
Inventory.
And of course, the beginning inventory. Very good. So, what was the total cost of my ending inventory?
2,426.05.
Good. What was my total cost of goods sold?
11,523.75.
Good. What was my total purchase expense?
10,400.
Good. What was my total freight?
150.
And last but not least, what was my beginning inventory?
600.
That's the quantity.
Oh.
The 3,399. So again, check to make sure that your total debits match your total credits. So I got 13,949.80 on the left, 13,949.80 on the right. Okay. And of course, last thing I'm going to put here is conversion entry. Okay. All right. Any questions here?
No.
Okay. What do you guys think about this one?
It was super easy.
Yeah, this one's definitely way easier, right? You don't need to have to go through all that mess where you have to look at how many items you need to keep selling, looking at different batches of inventory, right? It's straightforward. You just combine all of them together and just subtract them all out, okay? Less calculations necessary and also less workspace. Look, I only needed one line versus the other ones, we had too many lines, right? Right? So we'll go ahead and practice one more, okay, with this exercise number 2. Okay, so here I already filled in all the information for you. All you have to do is just calculate everything for me. So first things first is June 1st. We purchased 1,500 units at $1.30. So in this case, what is my total purchase price?
1,150.
Good. Okay. Plus $200 is going to give me a total cost of
2,150.
2,150. Okay. Then on June 5th here, we end up purchasing 700 units at $1.35. So with a freight of $100. So in this case, what's my total purchase price?
945.
$945 plus 100.
1,045.
$10.45. Okay. Then on June 8th, we ended up buying 950 units at $1.32 with the freight of $120. What's my purchase price here?
1,254.
Okay. Plus 120.
1,374.
Good.
I have to comment that Stacy gets this really well.
Oh, thank
Eh,
you.
It goes too fast for me. I can't do it.
it might be, you're using Excel, right, Stacy?
I am actually not on Excel. Are we supposed to be doing it at the same time?
You can. It's optional. But in this case,
I'm not too familiar with Excel, so I think I want to play around with it and then go on there. But no, I'm just using a calculator.
oh, okay, awesome. Okay, all right. Because again, like I said, if you use Excel, you'll get your answers a lot quicker. But in this case, that's what this class is for. It's supposed to be teaching you how to use Excel for this class. But again, If you guys want to use a pen and paper and calculator, by all means, as long as you understand the concept, because the concept is what's going to really, that's the most important thing, not being able to use the program. Okay? The program only helps it be able for you to help solve it a lot quicker without spending hours on this worksheet.
So for the reason I don't use Excel is because I don't know how to set up the charts and everything.
I have these charts already set up for you guys. But in this case, hold on, let's we'll talk back about this in a couple seconds. Let's just finish up this and then we'll comment on it after. Okay, so we could take our time if you like. You don't have to go super speedy. So in this case,
Shannon, are you using Excel?
No, I'm not, but I went on there last night to practice because I did take Excel a year ago, but
okay, so back to this. So on June 10, we end up purchasing 1,200 units at $1.30. Okay. So in this case, what is my total purchase price here?
is it 1,560?
1,560. Good. Plus 150.
1,710.
710. Good. All right. Next, then on June 12th, we end up purchasing 800 units at $1.25 each with a freight of 100. So purchase price here,
Is it 1,000? No. Yeah.
1,000 plus 100,
1,100.
1,100, right? Last one here, then on June 14, we end up purchasing 550 units at $1.30 with a freight of 70.
Okay, 650.
750.
Oh, 715?
Mm-hmm.
See, I need a bigger calculator.
No worries. You guys have plenty of time. All right. So 715, okay, plus 70.
785.
785. So because we reached the end of our accounting here, let's go ahead and tally up our totals. Okay. So equal sum. Okay. So 1,500. Go ahead.
5,700.
5,700 is correct. Good. What is the total purchase price here?
$11,359. No.
And you're off by a couple. So we see 0, 0, 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 5 is 14. Carry the 1. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 1 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 6 is 21, plus 1 is 2, so 22. Carry the 2. 9 plus 9 is 18, plus 2 is 20, 2, 7, plus 7 is 34. $5,003, 2, 4. No, I was even off. It was 7,000. Okay, 7,424. Okay. What's my total freight?
$740.
740. Nope, good. Giving you a grand total, right? You could take the $7,424 plus the 740.
So it'd be 14.
No, not 14.
Oh, we're subtracting?
No, we're adding.
What
But
are we adding?
we're adding the $7,424 with the 740. So you added 7,040.
Oh. Okay, so it'll be
1,164.
100. Yeah. 8,164.
Okay, yeah, good. Okay. So there you go. Now that we have this, now we should start calculating our average cost because in this case we don't have beginning inventory and no returns. So in this case, I need to solve for my average here, which is going to be the $8,164 and dividing it amongst 5,700 units. What is my average cost here?
How many units?
It's 5,700.
Is it $1 point, $1.4322.807?
Let's see, 14328. Yes, good. Okay. So then let's plug our numbers in. So again, we got 5,700 units at a total of $7,424. If for this case, we don't have any purchase returns or any allowances here. So this is going to keep my balance the same, right? Freight doesn't add anything to quantity, but it adds to cost, so it's $740, right? Will end up yielding me the same number of units at the total cost of $8,164. Okay. Since we don't have beginning inventory, right, that's going to not affect our net purchases, right? Because if we carry down our net purchases plus beginning of 0, it's just going to be your goods available. It's just going to be your net purchases. Okay. So then now, what was our ending balance? In this case, my scenario says that you have a total of 500 units left on hand. So 500 is your number. So how many units did you sell? If you started with 5,700 and you have 500 left,
5,200.
5,200. Okay? And in this case, because we already solved for our average cost per item from above, right? All I have to do is simple math here, right? I got the 5,200 is what I need to sell at $1.43. Okay, $1.432281. Okay, so in this case, I'll do the equal round formula. So what is going to be my total cost of goods sold if I sold 5,200 units at $1.432281?
5,636.
No, okay, do it again. What was it? 5,200.
5,200 divided by.
Not divide. We're timesing because we're trying to solve how much did 5,200 cost me if each one was $1?
I'm thinking it's a big number because it's a decimal, so I thought it was a total.
No. We're
Okay,
looking.
so it would be times
Mhm.
1.43. That's it, right? Because we're rounding.
Not the average cost. This one we do not round. We only round the ending number. So then just calculate it regularly and then tell me what the number is rounded then. So you can put in your calculator 5,200.
7,447.8612.
Okay, so 0.8, so then 0.8612.
Yes.
So does that tell you to round up or round down?
Round up.
So 8612.
So it would be 0.87.
Okay, in this case, I did not get that. Let me 86 because it's 8612. One does tell you not to round up. Tells you to round it down.
Divided by the 6.
Okay. Yep.
So 86.
Correct. Okay. There you go. So therefore, what is my ending balance? If I have 500 units, right, I could simply take my 8,164 and subtract out my $7,447.86. What should be my total ending balance?
$716.14.
716.14. Good. Okay. So now that we solved for this, right, let's go ahead and complete the next section, which is going to be the journal. Okay, so here I already filled everything in for you. So what is my ending balance going to be? What was the total value of my ending balance?
$716.14.
Good. And then my total cost of goods sold.
$7,447.86.
Good. What was my total purchases?
$7,424.
Good. And what was my total freight?
$740.
740. So again, we're going to double check our work here. Okay, so I got 8,164 on the left and 8,164 on the right. Okay. No beginning inventory because we didn't have beginning inventory. So again, if you don't have beginning inventory, this is unnecessary. Okay. All right. So that concludes the chapter 5.6 here. Any questions in regards to calculating?
We didn't have a beginning inventory?
No beginning inventory.
Huh. Thought we did.
No beginning inventory.